I want to talk about some of these casting choices because they are completely all over the place in the most wonderful way. And also the director, I think there's some potential there. But yeah, they pretty much just very gradually, like I feel like we're going to get, maybe we'll get a trailer at Comic. I don't know if they've actually started shooting yet. I think they're training or whatever. Maybe we'll get like a logo or something at Comic-Con. I don't know. But they've announced the casting. They've announced effectively the roster. And it's pretty solid. So let's run through this. We can weigh in on who we think they got right, who we're skeptical of. And then of course there's a few kind of question marks we're still waiting on. But Andrew Koji is playing Ryu. This is the dude from Warrior who is the hero of that. That's a dope show. That's basically like the show that Bruce Lee tried to get made for a million years, and then I think his family finally pushed it through. But he was also in Bullet Train, correct? Yes, he was in Bullet Train, and he played Storm Shadow in that Snake Eyes movie that 17 people saw. I completely memory hold that one. This is good casting on paper to me, and I actually I hope he keeps that beard. I know some purists would be mad about that, but he's these characters have had beards before, so let him. What if throughout the course of the film he's constantly growing the beard, and then it just shows him shaving it, so he's just like fluctuates between it, gives you a sense of the time passing. Are you allowed to? I mean, you're allowed to electrocute somebody in Street Fighter, but are you allowed to grab them by the beard? I feel like Zangief does that. Maybe he grabs his own beard or something. I don't know. Doesn't he grab his beard? He pulls it. Could you grab like Zangief or Blanka's chest hair and flip him over?
There is no like actual way in Street Fighter to like choose which body part you grab, like such as beards and such. It is just a grab or whatnot. So there's no referee. But there's a lot of people that grab people by the head and throw them, or grab them near their head and throw them. So there is no saying that there's it's not out of the park that somebody has grabbed somebody's beard and thrown them in Street Fighter. What about out of the runway or out of the dockyard or out of the large room that looks like graph paper? Is that fair game? That's also fair game. I think there should be a secret move in Street Fighter where if you pull it off, a guy emerges from the audience or the crowd, or like he's the guy who's jumping up and down in the background. He comes forward, he goes, "That is an illegal move," and you immediately lose. Can you shoot someone with a gun? Because you can throw an energy ball, right? Probably. Anyway, I'm trying to remember if any of the characters had guns. I believe we got a few more of these people to get through, but I do. Okay, there's also Noah Centineo as Ken Masters, who is, I think, a good choice because he plays. He's like the heartthrob in To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and although there's a few sequels to that. I think he was also more recently in Warfare. They got the eyebrows for sure. I don't know. I don't see this as Ken. What if they changed the color of his hair using movie magic? Or putting on a wig. What if his shirt was red? Dyed his hair. I don't know. This is probably like, we've got a lot of cast members in this, and this is one of the ones that is just really this feels one of the most far-fetched for me. Okay, can I just say, hold on, because they get so much more far-fetched, and you don't want to burn through your I've seen the entire cast, and this is the one that's probably the least believable for me. Believe it or not. Continue on. Like Ken is just like a regular ass dude who's like he's got like a cell phone and a car, and he hangs out with Ryu. I mean, I guess in 6 he's like a construction like foreman or worker. So like I will say that I am so not precious about this source material at all. Like I want everyone to beat each other up. Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, I don't even need a big, like, I feel like the recent Mortal Kombat movie that came out during the pandemic, it was a solid like 6.5 out of 10, where they got a couple of things correct, but they also made like the rookie mistake of centering the entire plot around an unknown character who had never appeared in the franchise before. Mm-hmm. And that was to sort of give the audience this like throughway to be like, oh, it's just like if you were in Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, I don't want to be in Mortal Kombat. You pick the character on the screen. Just put the guys that are on the screen in there. Just that's fine. Yeah, but I actually kind of love. I think of all the video game properties that can be turned into movies, I feel like fighting games are probably the most versatile because it's just a bunch of characters, and how they interact is entirely up to the people making the movies. Mm-hmm. Again, there are plenty of very bad fighting game movies to disprove this theory, but it's got potential. Yeah, anyway, Street Fighter. There's actually, I like the original Street Fighter, the original the 1994 Van Damme one.
is probably, it's one of the better Street Fighter movies they made. There's also
is.
The Legend of Chun-Li, which we don't want to talk about.
The 1994 Street Fighter movie is fun as hell and is also a terrible film. Like two things can be true.
You know what's great about this movie? The best thing about that movie, the movie is called Street Fighter, and in the big climactic third act, what happens? Guile gets in a boat and drives up a river and blows up a bunch of things from the boat. If there's anything that's the furthest thing from being in a street, it's being in a boat in a river. It is the anti-street. It is the furthest thing from boat shooter. What are you doing over here? Anyway, we also got Kalina Liang as Chun-Li, who I feel like she's in Presence, which I'm not even familiar. Brian, did you see that at all? I think it's Soderbergh horror or something.
Yes, I did. Yeah. She was great.
Does she spinning bird kick anybody?
No, there's no Ying Tai kick or anything like that in that movie. Unfortunately, I was really let down. I was on IMDb the other day, just downvoting it because of that. Just what I like to do in my evenings alone. No, sure, fine. I don't know. She was great in that movie. That movie was pretty good. I have no idea of how that translates to her doing like an upside down helicopter kick. It doesn't
I feel like
really matter.
there's the kind of regular Street Fighter characters who should be normal actors and regular people, and then there's some who are basically superheroes, and one of those is Blanka, and they cast Jason Momoa as Blanka, which is going to be absolutely a hoot. It's going to be a good time.
It's great.
It's going to be awesome.
Great casting. Great casting. Other than them wasting one of their most like prolific actors on the film as a character who's going to transform into some unrecognizable looking character from his human form.
I think he's going to look the same.
I think it's good.
I think they're just going
to make him green.
They're just going to straighten him. They're going to straighten his hair and just airbrush him, or fix it in post or whatever. Yeah.
My kid has been obsessed with the Minecraft movie, and I kind of slept on that movie because I was kind of same deal where I was like, it got decent reviews, and I'm like, I'm not too precious about the source material or whatever. And then I watched it with her, and I'm like, oh, Jason Momoa is a goddamn delight in this movie. Like when you throw him at something silly. And I'm hoping that's kind of where this goes. Like, I hope there's enough camp and nonsense in this to, kind of balance that. I also want the, gritty, hard-edged fighting stuff. But this is not Mortal Kombat, so I'm not necessarily expecting spine ripping and all that. I want some good choreographed fights and some silly one-liners. I think that's fine.
You know what's cool about this?
I just want to see him crouch and generate lightning.
Exactly.
That's all I want to see him do.
Yeah, and make it look cool. I don't even know what that looks like.
He's going to be green. Yeah. Or other colors. He can turn it. Yeah, there's different palette swaps of Blanka you can get.
Yeah.
That would be wild for them to use alternate palette swaps for a character like Blanka.
Something I like about Street Fighter. I like Street Fighter and I like Mortal Kombat.
This
both
is for the deep cuts out there.
What if right before they start fighting, you just see them cycle through costumes?
I hope we get a lot of costumes in this. I hope we get a lot of different...
looking through the closet, and it's just what do I wear today? What color gi should I wear today?
What color skin should I have today?
That's what I'm saying. We gotta have Ryu just shaving his beard repeatedly, or just just changing his mind. No, but the nice thing about this is Street Fighter. People occasionally don't show up for games. Maybe somebody gets killed off along the line, but it's when you win a fight, the person doesn't get their head ripped off. Like Mortal Kombat, any characters who showed up, they get killed, and I don't know if they're gonna get Dragon Balls to wish them back or whatever. I don't know what you're gonna do there, but if you kill someone off, it's a little bit more confusing than to just have them go oh, my head, and they saunter off somewhere.
No, Street Fighter, it famously Street Fighter 2 ends with each fight ends with a scene where one guy is just all bloodied up and the other guy's go home and talk to your wife about how much you suck.
The original directors for this was the Filippo brothers, who did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, both of which have some of the most brutal body horror. And I was rewatching Talk to Me, and I was like, there's a part where they get their ass kicked really bad, and it's disgusting. It is it is the most gnarly makeup, and I was like, what if that was Guile?
No, so the thing is with the Filippo brothers is that they did Street Fighter fan films on YouTube before they made any of their horror movies. So even if this turns out to be a wreck, which it very well could, right? Because I think that there was that little while there where we were video game adaptations are good. They're back. They're good again, right? And then a couple of contenders stepped up and they were like, "Oh yeah, what if they weren't?" And it's all right, well, yeah. Go watch the Filippo brothers Street Fighter fan films. Even if this one's bad, those things are really fun.
Yep. 50 Cent is playing Balrog, which
all right, sure.
You know what?
I mean,
he's been putting in the time with this TV show Power, and that's very popular and it's been doing really well. So like I was a little skeptical of this one at first, but I could see him pulling this off. This is more believable than Noah Centineo as Ken.
50 Cent is incredibly charismatic, also very funny, and also has been training as a boxer for a really long time. Like that's just what he does in his off hours. The funniest thing that 50 Cent has had like a beef with Ja Rule for like the longest time. And the funniest thing he ever did, which is like a great finishing move, is he bought out like the first 10 rows of a Ja Rule concert and then didn't give the tickets to anyone. So Ja Rule showed up and just performed to like an empty crowd and had to tell everyone in the back and the cheap seats to come up. That's funny. I appreciate a millionaire troll, I guess. I hope they give him the haircut. Like
I think so too. Yeah, I think it could be cool. So lesser known contender, but Orville Peck is playing Vega. Orville Peck is this fabulous country singer who wears a mask all the time. He does this kind of like this Zorro thing where he'll have like masks with tassels on. He wears masks. He's like shown his face like once or twice, but for the most part, that's like part of his identity. Who better to play Vega? I love it. And again, I feel like they just found a guy who wears a mask and they're like, yep, there you go. That's Vega. I mean, he's also theatrical though. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's gonna own this. He's also ripped, which helps. I don't know if he's got a snake tattoo, but they can always use movie magic to figure that out. Roman Reigns from WWE is playing Akuma, which is sick. Again,
which I thought he would be like the big bad of this movie, and then they would tease Bison at the end, but we got Bison casting news today, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second.
That was Roman Reigns. I'm not a big like wrestling guy, but I mean he is literally a big wrestling guy who can definitely that's a good call for playing Akuma. And I mean we always talk about this with professional wrestlers or WWE superstars or whatever the correct terminology is. They work like 370 days a year or something, and they're constantly on and they're doing their own stunts, and they're just the amount of work they have to do. Then being in like an action movie is basically just like vacation. I feel like they where they're like, oh, and you just do it a few times and then maybe somebody else steps in to do the part that hurts.
Or it's a magical parachute out of a head injury world for the rest of your life. Like you look at John Cena, like he comes back for some wrestling here and there, and so does The Rock. But mostly, like those guys get paychecks with stuntmen involved, and they get health care and a bunch of other things that Vince McMahon won't give them. So
no, I read a thing about how like professional bull riders often go into stunt work for movies because that's somehow safer.
Definitely safer.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you broke your coccyx too many times, you just crash cars instead, I guess. Anyway,
Jada, I don't know enough about Akuma because I just don't. Does this casting work for you?
Yeah, this one's work. I think Roman Reigns will make a decent Akuma. It'll be dependent on what version of Akuma they're going with for this movie. So that's really gonna I need more context.
I hope they do Akuma Matata. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so we got David Dastmalchian as M. Bison, who is, I feel like one of the most prolific and generally the best character actors working today.
I agree.
He made his debut in The Dark Knight as the weird dude in the ambulance, and then he has since showed up in the Suicide Squad as Polka Dot Man, and he's been in Ant-Man as Ant-Man's friend, and he starred in Late Night with the Devil, and he was in Oppenheimer as one of the guys in the suits.
Wasn't he the voice for the Spot in Spider-Verse as well, if I remember right?
I think so, yeah.
No, that was what's his face?
I think he did a voice in Spider-Verse though.
Yeah,
unless I'm crazy. He's like quickly become one of those that guys in movies where you're like, you just see him in a whole bunch of stuff. He's like Max said, incredibly prolific, shows up in a ton of stuff for like a small role or a bit part or something like that. And little by little has sort of gotten a bigger name for himself. I love this dude because he's like a huge horror fan, and he's helped make comic books and stuff like that. He swings by our Comic-Con show every year. He's always the nicest dude.
He's a very Comic-Con dude. He seems very cool. Yeah.
So. Yeah. And this is probably, I mean, probably his biggest role in terms of being like, you're the main villain of a film that's based on an IP that is very cherished and beloved and has been going on for a long time. And also like heavy, big shoes to fill on this one because like the original Raul Julia like role of M. Bison is just, that is when people think about why they love that original movie, it's because of him. Like, he showed up to a movie with a bad script and a worse plot and a bunch of miscast actors, and Dhalsim that got, became Dhalsim 4 minutes left in the film and didn't really do the long arms thing in a fight. So just weird, right? But he crushed it. Like, all the memes you see of him or anything you see from that movie, the longevity is like largely supported by him.
Yeah, for him it was a Tuesday.
Yeah, for him it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And he worked his ass off. Like, that dude showed up in a bunch of, like, if you watch him in like Addams Family and a couple other movies, he unfortunately had his career and his life cut short by illness, but like, he's a legend. And this, is big shoes to fill. And so I'm sure that's going to come up in a lot of interviews with David about like how he's going to, approach this. But
well, also physically big shoes to fill, because I feel like he's not like a super large dude, but like M. Bison generally, or a lot of the times he is like a pretty imposing figure. I mean, again, they're all made up of computer people, so like they can do whatever they want. But as for other
characters, fly back and cross the screen like 50 times.
Yeah. Something like, he's gonna do all sorts of nonsense. But yeah, we are still missing E Honda and Zangief and Dhalsim from the original, core roster. And get out of here.
And Guile.
We cast. Oh, Guile! I forgot Guile.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I think it's cool to have them come out with this many people announced. And I imagine they'll save some for a sequel, but at the same time, like, there's also such a massive deep bench of Street Fighter characters to pull from.
I think you gotta do it. At least you gotta bring in like Guile and Cammy for this one. And I honestly, if you don't have like the original roster from like the base game, not even like the Turbo Deluxe, all 17 champion, all the ones they put out on SNES before they did DLC, and they would just charge you $75 for a whole new game that had 4 new characters in it. Like, I feel like you have to do Cammy. You can't only have like, Chun-Li can't be the only woman in this game or in this movie that is fighting people. Like, you need more characters. And Cammy's not part of like the original lineup, but like, she's early enough. Yeah, she's early enough. She was in the original movie, so it's like, I feel like you got to do it.
She's also got a lot of ties to like chasing after Bison and the Shadaloo organization. So like, it makes sense for Cammy to be involved, especially if it's going to be centered around Bison. But we don't know what this is going to center.
This movie's going to center around people beating the crap out of each other, and it's going to be entertaining to see that part. The director is Kitao Sakurai, who did he worked on the Eric Andre show a bunch, and he did the movie Bad Trip for Netflix, which I found this video of. It's him and Eric Andre breaking down this stunt they did for that movie. That movie is. It's fun. It's whatever though. I watched it during paternity leave, or so. I think I watched it at like 3:00 in the morning while like giving my kid a bottle or something when she was a tiny baby. But it's basically a scripted Jackass style movie. So they intercut like scripted, highly produced sequences with all this weird kind of like hidden camera nonsense. And there's a part where they like crash a car, and they do it in a way where a bunch of bystanders think it's a real car accident. And so they like rush up to help these people, help Eric Andre get out of the car or whatever. And it is going to be incredibly weird if they try to do anything like that with Street Fighter. But again, it's called Street Fighter. It's about getting in big fights out in the street. They're always kicking each other's asses in public places. Like, are they going to do like hidden camera like stunt fights with like a neon green, Jason Momoa at the airport or something? Like, how are they going to do this?
I mean, there is a whole bonus stage in Street Fighter of breaking a car.
Exactly.
So like,
I mean, so
why not?
Jeff Tremaine, who worked on Jackass, worked on Bad Trip. I think I was a lot hotter on this movie than you were, Max. Maybe I was just in a very stupid mood. But,
I mean, I watched it at 3:00 in the morning while giving a screaming child a bottle. So possibly I might have not been the best state for it.
Yeah, historically not the best time. But yeah, Jeff Tremaine, if you've ever seen any of like the behind the scenes clips on Jackass, he's the guy that they always make throw up, and not like he's like the camera guy they always make throw up, right? Not one of the cast members. I hope they get him on this. I actually really like the idea of this being like half choreographed fighting movie and half prank show where people are just like eating dinner, and all of a sudden like Sagat and Zangief start beating the shit out of each other in the back of the restaurant.
I mean, at the very least, they're going to break a lot of furniture, and it's going to be fun. Like, I feel like they go through like 2 or 3 desks on every episode of the Eric Andre show. Like, they're just constantly smashing drum sets and shit. Like, it's going to be a good time. I'm stoked about this. I realize that I have like a immense amount of fondness for the Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, the one from like 95, where they got the part where the what is it, like I think like Chun-Li kicks a couch at Vega or something, and then like does the kick in his face and his face twists around. It's just badass. It's good. That's a good time.
The original live action, because there was a story came out semi recently ago about how much money that still makes Capcom, just because of how often it's like syndicated out to channels. It makes them tens of millions of yen, which translated to US is like 70K a year.
Sure, that's great.
That is still 70K they're making a year off of this movie from 30 years ago, which is insane. So my bar for this is as fun as that movie. As fun as that movie, and better than the Monster Hunter movie that came out.
I don't even remember. So I don't even remember that movie came out. But I'm also not a Monster Hunter guy, so like that didn't have to hurt for me. It's very rare. That,
I knew it was going to be bad. It didn't hurt. I knew it was going to be bad, but I was hoping it would at least be fun, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, between now and then, I think we're also getting the next Mortal Kombat movie, which is going to be gnarly.
I think there was I dragged my dad to see the Street Fighter movie in theaters, and then I dragged him to see the Double Dragon movie in theaters, and he was just like, "You're never picking a movie again." Double Dragon was, man. If you think the Street Fighter movie was rough around the edges or like goofy and Double Dragon is a disaster. Like if you want to go look at it like a side scrolling 8-bit 16-bit arcade.
Who's
game.
in that? Denise Richards or something?
They stopped making games after that movie.
Seriously.
I mean, we got a couple recently, but it felt like they basically that movie killed the game.
The Street Fighter movie did not kill the Street Fighter franchise, but the Double Dragon movie did double damage to that series. They did a live action. They did a live action of Bobo in that movie. However you think, however gross you think the Goombas look in the original live action Mario movie, live action of Bobo is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in a movie, and I have a Shudder and a Screambox subscription. Like I've seen some horrible movie monsters, and the Abobo is so bad. It's so bad. Is that Gary Oldman? I forget.
Robert Patrick's in that.
Right.
Yeah, Alyssa Milano is the lady who gets kidnapped, I think. But yeah, that one's a good time. I like that one. I had a good time with that one.
They gave her Eminem's haircut before. This movie is not a good time.
That movie's a good time. I highly recommend putting it on. It's just it's a disaster.
I had toys based on the animated series of Double Dragon, and those were bad too.
I've always loved Double Dragon.
Me too.
So like I say this, I said that earlier comment, but I actually truly love Double Dragon games. Like I used to play the crap out of the Double Dragons Battletoads game, and I'd only play the Double Dragons because I just didn't care about Battletoads as a kid. But man, yeah. And we've gotten a couple games over the last like half decade.
Where's the Battletoads live action movie? Make those horrible creatures.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip from Beyond, IGN's weekly PlayStation show. You can find the full episode over on youtube.com/IGN Games. And don't forget, new episodes of Beyond drop every Wednesday on IGN.com, the IGN Games YouTube, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks again for watching, and as always, Beyond.